I could have missed all this. So many times when we're new and we think, oh, I just can't do this. I'm going to drink. I just can't. I'm not going back to that meeting. Well, they're just a bunch of jerks. They don't know what they're talking about. All of those times when I was new, and for some reason, somebody called me up and said, hey, let's go to coffee before the meeting. We're reaching out, we're making those connections, and we're touching people's lives. We have been given the opportunity to save lives as people have saved ours. I could have missed all this. It's overwhelming for me.
I've heard it through the grapevine. Welcome. It's the AA Grapevine half-hour variety hour featuring the collected voices of Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm Don, an alcoholic in Greensboro, North Carolina.
Hey, Don. Hey, everybody. I'm Sam, an alcoholic in Palm Springs, California.
Sam, we've gotten a lot of listener feedback lately, especially on the subject of politics and meeting. We asked for responses on Season 9, Episode 6, You Can Be Free, which was posted August 11th, 2025.
Yeah, you and Alice really stirred up the nest on that one, didn't you?
It's a hot topic. It really is.
It is, and we asked for folks to write into us, and they have. Mm-hmm. Here's one of them. My name is Dan C. I'm an alcoholic with a sobriety date of July 13, 1979. AA meetings must be a safe place for everyone. Politics is a subject that should never be raised. If a recovering alcoholic is fearful that he or she might drink because of political angst, then they should talk to their sponsor about it. Just my take. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Dan. You know, we got a lot of responses and we're going to read these and talk about them later, but they're pretty much all have exactly the same opinion. We don't talk about alcoholics within the meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous.
You just said we don't talk about alcoholics within the meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous, and we do that a lot.
We do that a lot. We don't talk about politics within the meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous.
And we don't talk about alcoholics in the meetings of Politics Anonymous.
That's right. Everything has its place.
Exactly.
And AA is not the place to discuss politics.
It's not, nor is the meeting before the meeting or the meeting after the meeting.
Although we can talk about our frustrations in a general way. It's not necessary to be specific with politics because it may drive people off.
There's a whole reason that I've got a network of trusted friends and I have a sponsor. These are the people that I can talk about the more intimate issues in my life about. That's where those conversations are held.
That's true. Like, I'm just not going to bring up my prostate biopsy in a meeting.
Or my bone marrow biopsy that I had just 2 days ago, and it still hurts. Oh, wait, did we just do that?
We have a bunch more listener feedback, and we want to include our guest in this discussion, Sam. So who is our guest today?
Don, today we're welcoming Penny P. from Livermore, California.
All right. But first, the news. Did too many dits.
There's an opening for an AA Grapevine non-trustee director. Non-trustee directors are AA members selected for their business or professional experience that relates to the activity of the corporation.
A non-trustee director may serve up to 4 successive one-year terms. For more details and how to apply, visit aagrapevine.org or look in the Grapevine app under Important Updates.
Or the News tab in the AA Meeting Guide app. The deadline is November 12, 2025. Have you heard about our Grapevine book, Forming True Partnerships?
As the chapter on Step 4 in the 12 Steps and 12 Tradition puts it, when we were drinking, many of us had a total inability to form true partnerships with another human being.
This collection of Grapevine stories shows the many ways members use the 12 steps, sponsorship, and the tools of the program to improve and repair their relationships.
It has colorful stories on families, friendship, marriage,
divorce, dating, romance,
coworkers, sponsorship, and get this, pets.
Forming True Partnerships covers a wide range of experiences from sober alcoholics, all focused on how we form true partnerships with others. Get it now at aagrapevine.org.
Hi, I'm Penny P. I'm an alcoholic from Livermore, California. My sobriety date is October 9th, 1977. And my home group is the online group out of Shanghai, China, the Global Speakers Group. We have 3 meetings a week, speaker discussion on Sunday, a women's meeting on Monday, and a literature discussion on Tuesdays.
Wow. Now,
Wow.
it's not a common occurrence for someone in the continental US to have a home group that is on another continent.
An international group.
Cool. How did that become your home group?
The meeting started in 2016. It was started by a couple of young guys, fairly new to the program. They were both living in small cities in China, English speaking expats. It was like coming home. I went to the meeting to share and kept coming back. It's an English speaking meeting out of China, and we're very international.
Penny, do you go to in-person meetings as well?
I do go to in-person meetings. I have some health issues, so I don't go to a lot, but I do go. And when I travel, I certainly go to face-to-face meetings.
Mm-hmm.
Penny, did you say 1977?
1977.
Yes.
What was going on that would make you consider going to an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting?
You know, I hadn't considered going to an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. I was drinking in dive bars on Hotel Street because I'd gotten kicked out of all of the nicer places. And I was drinking at home. I was drinking alone. I tried everything. I love that we have a checklist in chapter 3 that they give us that whole paragraph on page 31 of, have you done this? Have you done this? Have you done this? And more physical exercise. So I had joined a softball team, which is a great way to drink.
Mm-hmm.
I was a shortstop, and one Sunday morning, I missed an easy field, and my coach pulled me out of the game. As I walked off the field, I asked him if his mother knew who his father was. Not quite like that. And
Oh, you were feisty, were you?
defiant and delusional. So I hadn't had a drink that day, and I hadn't had a drink the day before. So I really thought what I needed was a drink. Going home, I almost turned the steering wheel to go over the cliff, but I got home, and before I fixed myself a drink, I don't remember saying any prayer or asking for help, anything like that. But before I fixed myself a drink, I went to the back of the house and I picked up the phone and I called information and I asked for the phone number of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I knew about AA because when I was a kid, the father of a friend of mine had gotten sober in AA. And of course, you know, I'm old, so I knew about it from Ann Landers and Dear Abby columns.
How old were you at the time?
26. So, you know, we had live information operators in those days, and she didn't give me the phone number. She actually connected me right through to Alcoholics Anonymous.
To AA locally?
Yeah, to the AA hotline in Honolulu. And that's one of my first miracles. I told her I'd like to know something about Alcoholics Anonymous for a friend of mine that I thought might have a problem.
As we do.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, maybe you'd like to take your friend to a meeting. And I said, no, my friend wouldn't want to do that. But if you tell me about AA, I'll tell my friend about AA. And she started talking about Alcoholics Anonymous, and she talked about God. And I interrupted her and explained that I don't believe in God. And she asked if my friend believed in God.
She was playing the game.
Yeah, she knew what was going on, it sounds like.
And I never found out who that woman was. So I regret that I don't know who I talked to on the hotline that night.
Did that lead to going to a meeting?
I went to a meeting that evening. Yeah. I actually took a shower first, which was an improvement. And I went to my first meeting that night. She had told me to go up to the first woman I saw and tell her I'm a newcomer.
What good advice.
Did you do that?
There was this woman in the back of the room by the coffee pots, and I went up to her, and before I could say anything, I started crying, and she said, "Oh, you're a newcomer."
Yes.
Yeah, it sounds absolutely rude for me to laugh at someone crying and all that, but yeah, that's what we do, right? I mean, we can laugh at ourselves after the fact.
Because it's true for all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then she took me out on the lanai and introduced me to the women of Alcoholics Anonymous. And They gave me their phone numbers. I was young and cute in those days, and some of the men gave me their phone numbers, and the women took them away from me.
Good.
Yeah.
That was my first meeting. My second meeting was a week later because I didn't hear 90 meetings in 90 days. I thought I joined Sunday Night AA. But at my second meeting, Blanche, the coffee maker, marked meetings on a schedule and then took me over to Connie and Renee, and they marked meetings and told me that's where we will meet you this week.
Isn't that so helpful?
Wow.
It is a wonderful way to help someone know where to go and to say, I'll meet you there.
That you have a friendly face.
You walked in off the street to get sober. Did you start shaking?
I don't remember a lot of that between Sunday and Sunday, except that I didn't drink.
Uh-huh.
And there was booze in the house. My then husband had a liquor cabinet. I have no recollection of how I got through that week. I did not drink until my next meeting. I didn't know that I could. First of all, I was astounded that y'all had meetings on Sunday nights. You guys got to be really sick to have Sunday night meetings. It just didn't connect for me that I could go to a meeting other than that meeting.
Mm.
What was it like getting sober in the meetings?
I got sober in Honolulu, Hawaii. I got sober in a little pocket of enthusiasm of Alcoholics Anonymous. People who were talking about recovery, talking about the big book. There was a guy named Don H. I didn't like Don when I first met him because he told the truth. I couldn't handle the truth.
Yeah.
I remember he picked up the big book at one of my early meetings and he said, the first 164 pages are the meat of the program and the stories are the hamburger helper. And if you can't get the meat of the program, go to the hamburger helper. And I cannot tell you how many times I woke up with my face flat in my big book on one of the stories because I was reading the stories in the back of the book because I'm a retired writer and editor, and I found the big book difficult to read when I was new.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the language was archaic and Bill Wilson was repetitious, and I've come to love it, but
yes.
But that was not my first response.
Yeah, and that has led to a nice addition to the AA library, the plain language big book.
Yes.
Yeah, it's an addition, doesn't replace the big book.
Exactly. So you talking about the stories, I think that is so incredibly important because first of all, there's two parts to it. You know, we've got the program, our steps, our traditions, etc. But the fellowship is the other part of Alcoholics Anonymous. And one of the things that is so key is our storytelling because that's what we do.
Yeah.
We tell our experience, we tell our stories, and that's what's been captured in text in those stories in the back of the book. It's what's captured in text in the Grapevine articles and in other publications that we have.
Yes.
Did you find your story in the back of the book?
I've found my story in several of the stories in the back of the book. My Monday morning women's meeting last quarter, there's 13 weeks in a quarter. We went through 13 women's stories in the fourth edition. I just find parts of myself in, if you look at my big book, it's not just the first 164 or first 181 pages that are falling apart and highlighted. It's the stories as well. So, yeah.
So, Penny, give us a story of when you got sober and found hope.
I had some huge problem, have no idea what it was, but it was a huge problem at the time. And I called my sponsor. Wow. And I just ranted at her for a while. And she said, the last time I was at your house, your back slider needed to be cleaned. Go clean your slider and call me back. And she hung up on me. And I had some choice words that I won't use, but I did it. I went and I got the Windex and the paper towels and I cleaned my slider inside and out because I knew she would ask. And I called her back and I was still angry. And so she said, go pull the sheets off the bed and put them in the washing machine, put the fresh sheets on and call me back. And she hung up. This went on for a couple of hours on Saturday. By the end of it, I couldn't remember why I called her the first time. My house was clean, and the bus used to cost 25 cents in Hawaii. She said, do you have a quarter? I said, I always have quarters for the bus. And she said, good, go catch the bus and I'll meet you at a noon meeting. So.
I love that.
And you got through the day and you didn't drink.
And I got through the morning, and I don't remember.
And you had a clean house.
And I had a clean house. And that was amazing when I got home and my house was clean. I love that.
That's feet on the ground recovery, where it's it's not theory. We have to take action.
She said it's part of, clean house.
Literally.
Show up, suit up, and clean house.
And the other one from Dr. Bob, clean house, trust God.
That's it.
Clean house, help God.
Yeah.
Help God clean house.
Help God clean your house. Clean house, help others, trust God.
So, Penny, what is recovery like for you today? You've been sober a long time. Do you still go to meetings?
I go to more meetings now, mainly because of the availability of online meetings. I got involved in online AA in the 1980s when I was living in the Washington, D.C. area. I got involved in a BBS on FidoNet.
And a BBS is a bulletin board system.
And
FidoNet was something like AOL or something like that at the time.
Yeah, when FidoNet was a platform. Mm-hmm. And then I came out here to California on a temporary duty assignment and connected with Recovery BBS out here out of San Francisco. And I did some of the email online meetings. I did some of the early Skype meetings, and I didn't get connected with Lamplighters. I'm not sure why I didn't get connected with Lamplighters.
What's Lamplighters?
Lamplighters was another early online AA connection. I think it was started through some guys in the Midwest. And they used their internal messaging system to start an AA meeting.
So modem to modem has been happening for a long time.
For a long time. Yes. During that time, I was in a group called New Beginnings. It was an email recovery group. And we had meetings. Each week was a different topic, and everyone would share. And occasionally there would be a speaker meeting. When I joined the group, I was asked to speak right away, and I had to write my story and email it. And people would respond.
Yeah.
Slow, but steady.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's akin to the beginning of AA and Loners International, where people were writing letters.
It is, really.
Yeah, I was also involved in Loners for a long period of time. I haven't been active in that for a while.
You have been part of so many changes in AA.
Yes.
I've loved it. I have been so lucky to be exposed to the opportunities that I have had in Alcoholics Anonymous. I am overwhelmed with gratitude. I was in a meeting recently, and the woman was reading from page 164, Abandon Yourselves to God, and she kind of choked up. And someone in the meeting said, wouldn't that be a great topic for a meeting? Paragraphs from the big book that make me cry. Wouldn't that be a great topic for a meeting?
It really would be. You hear people speak and they get choked up all of a sudden. And usually it's because they're filled with such gratitude for where they are and what they have. And they start talking about it, and they just so become overcome. It's happened to me suddenly. It's out of nowhere. It happened to me on the podcast, Sam, recently when I was talking about the international. It's just, I can't believe the life that I've been given.
Isn't it amazing? Everything I have, my whole career, everything has just been as a result of Alcoholics Anonymous in some way, stepping forward and taking a chance. Just when I got sober in Hawaii, I was unemployed, and I was doing temporary jobs through Kelly Services. And I was at a conference. I always tried to go above and beyond because that's what I'd been taught in my family. And somebody at the conference said, boy, if you're ever looking for a job in Washington, D.C., we could use someone like you. And I perked up. I had 5 job offers that weekend, and I wasn't looking for a job.
Wow.
But everything, all of the jobs I've had, all of the opportunities I've had have in some way been because AA has taught me to suit up and show up and carry the message.
It hit me a moment ago as you were talking that alcohol was absolutely a part of every single aspect of my life before I got sober.
Mm-hmm.
And now
Yes.
Alcoholics Anonymous is a part of
There you go.
every single aspect of my life. And I certainly am grateful for that.
Well, Penny, we want you to hang around and share some of all that hard-earned experience that you have with
Yes,
us.
because it's time for listener feedback.
All right. We got a very thoughtful response from Joe C. to my question about the perception in popular culture that AA is a religious program. It was in episode 5, season 9, The Coffee Pot God. I've edited this response for time, trying very hard not to lose any of your excellent points, Joe. So Joe C. writes, "Greetings. I'm writing about a concern raised by Don that I expect many listeners have experienced. On the August 2025 episode celebrating the Grapevine issue featuring atheist, agnostic, secular AA members, Don talked about pushback by members of the public saying, 'I'm not interested. AA is a religious program.' I share Don's concern about this widely held conclusion. It's shared by the Ninth Circuit courts in the USA and healthcare services in Canada, and many whom we wish we could help directly. I've worked in both public information and cooperation with the professional community. My home group is Beyond Belief, Agnostics, and Freethinkers. I can tell you that my group members and I can be examples of AA's effectiveness with or without prayer or higher powers. So why doesn't our rebuttal work? But AA is spiritual, not religious. Well, their concern is with the religious nature of the AA program, the God talk, the testimony about prayer answering, the sobriety granting power we call God as you understand him, her, or God for short. I can't state this emphatically enough. I am not pointing a finger at Don or at any of us. I'm discussing how I manage my reactivity to criticism and my desire to be heard and accepted. Search about being religious in your browser and you'll find what I found. Being religious is holding a strong belief in a supernatural power or powers and living one's life in accordance with doctrines, rituals, and practices. AA has doctrines, rituals, and practices. Our literature certainly talks about an interventionist power often using the Judeo-Christian brand that we call God. Our program to most neutral third parties is religious. Many or most AAs don't apologize for reliance on a supernatural power. Why not respect our critics with agreement? You are right to say so, but did you know there have always been atheists and freethinkers and people from faiths of all kinds? Well, here Joe C. goes on to say, in almost any meeting you can find members who do not believe in God, and he recommends our book, Living Sober, which is written in accessible, non-religious language. And he finishes up his letter by saying, and I love this, AA isn't this and not that. AA is this and that. Answering, yes, we are religious, is the best way I have found to let someone know that I hear them. And did you know that AA is secular too? AAs are religious because that works for them. Meanwhile, secular AA members thrive too because AA works without God or prayer for them. Living Sober emphasizes there is no one AA way or wrong way, and each of us tries to respect each other's right to do things differently.
Whew, that's a lot. There's a lot to chew on there, but the very simple part of it is inclusivity.
It is.
There is nothing that I have found that is exclusive in AA. We don't even say that you have to stop drinking to be a member of AA. We only ask that you have a desire to stop drinking. There's room for all of us in here. And as an atheist, I'm really grateful for that, because if you had told me that I had to believe in your concept of God and I had to do this religious thing and that, I wouldn't have stuck around. I would not have come back for the second meeting.
Penny?
I really struggled with God in the beginning, and I finally came to a place of peace with that. But there have been different times in my sobriety when I have been a doubter. I've gone through different periods of time with different beliefs. And there are times when I question, and there are times when I don't, and my higher power doesn't care.
So we all have different concepts of a higher power, and it's true. And the longer I've been sober, I actually became a member of a Christian denomination, the Quakers. So everybody's path is different. What I like about Joe's letter, how do we respond to the question, is AA religious? Is like yes and no.
And no.
Depending on the individual.
I love that it's very much the answer that you always give in improv. Yes, and.
Yeah, that's right, Sam.
You always start off with yes, and. That totally works.
Yes, we are religious, but AA isn't this and not that. AA is this and that.
Honor everyone's path.
Thanks for writing, Joe.
Indeed. Thank you, Joe.
Okay, we asked for listeners to respond to a question posed by another listener. Another hot topic: how do we talk about politics in AA meetings? We've gotten a lot of responses to this. Let's review them.
John O. in Salem, South Carolina, sober since 1995, says, how do we talk about politics in AA meetings? Answer, we don't. Full stop. I personally believe that this also extends to the meeting before the meeting and the meeting after the meeting as well. Well, why not? John cites Traditions 1 about unity, Tradition 5 about our primary purpose, and quotes Tradition 10. No AA group or member should ever, in such a way as to implicate AA, express any opinion on outside controversial issues, particularly those of politics, alcohol reform, or sectarian religion. The Alcoholics Anonymous groups oppose no one. Concerning such matters, they can express no views whatever. He goes on to write, I feel it is vitally important for me as an AA member to understand the traditions so that I can act in accordance with them. For example, I was running late after doing yard work. I hopped in the car and was halfway to the meeting when I realized I was wearing a t-shirt with a political message on it. I could continue or go back home, change my shirt, and arrive 10 minutes late. I arrived at the meeting late, but without an outside issue blazing from my chest. I looked across the room and a couple of other members were wearing t-shirts with graphic religious messages. I smiled. I can't control other members, but I can understand and act in accordance with the traditions myself. By the way, I shared that story in a traditions meeting a few years ago, and someone said, I would have just turned my shirt inside out. I never thought of that. Smiley face emoji. Oh, man. John, that's a good one.
Yeah, I'm glad he went home and changed that shirt, or he could have just turned it inside out. Penny?
But, after doing yard work, he probably smelled a little funky, too.
Yeah, I'm glad he changed his shirt.
That was my thought, too. Well, I'm a Detroit Tigers fan, and I had somebody accost me because I wore a Detroit Tigers shirt to a meeting in an area that has the A's and the Giants.
All right. Well, Don W. brought up the Washingtonian movement.
Yes.
The Washingtonians were a very successful temperance movement for a while. Don writes, it died as a result of getting embroiled in political issues of the time. One of my early sponsors had me read about that movement as it's mentioned in AA Comes of Age and the 12 and 12 in the discussion of Tradition 10. That's two books that we have in our literature.
Cindy R. wrote, I simply do not bring outside issues into an AA meeting, and if I have a specific problem, I have to ask myself, why would I need to be so specific about it in a meeting and not just describe it in a general way? Anything that's an outside issue, I would take to my sponsor where it's safe to discuss.
And finally, Mary Ellen Kay in Ellicott City, Maryland, writes, I've been sober more than half my life, 38 years. And it has only been within the past 5 years that I've seen and heard more discussion among AAs at the meetings after the meeting about these tender topics. I do my best, with HP's help, to be an elder stateswoman and clearly state we have to be unified in AA. We don't discuss outside issues in the rooms because we know it will destroy our primary purpose. I don't discuss politics with sponsees, but in our current climate, The environment is scary and unsettling to already fearful, restless alcoholics, some new in sobriety. It's my responsibility to carry the message of AA to them, no other. What a breath of fresh air. So that's a lot of responses.
It is.
I was taught to respect the room I'm in. And if I'm in a room of Alcoholics Anonymous, I am there to carry the message of Alcoholics Anonymous. And that goes for any outside issue. I respect our traditions. If I'm in another anonymous program, I respect their traditions. I do an annual kind of a retreat, but we call it an advance because we go forward, we don't retreat, with the women I sponsor each year. And one of the first rules we go over is there will be no political discussions this weekend, not only in our room, but in the dining hall, because there is another AA group that meets that same weekend. And that's not going to be a conversation that they're going to overhear us having. We are going to practice the principles of the program.
You know, as a newcomer, when I was first dipping my toe into AA, my disease was screaming for any reason at all to walk out of that space, to leave. And I need to be mindful of that.
And it seems like all of the letters that we've received have really made that point. The reason that we don't discuss politics within AA, both before and after the meeting and in the meeting, is because it's divisive. And what we want to do is be there for the still suffering alcoholic who walks into the room and needs help.
This is not a new development in AA.
Right.
Politics has been divisive from the inception of AA. That's why this has been a tradition of our fellowship not to have these conversations.
That's right.
Isn't it absolutely amazing how forward-thinking Bill Wilson was and the people that were his advisors, that in the 1940s, having experienced World War I firsthand, and now being an observer of World War II, that they came up with these 12 traditions that keep us alive. That's gold.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, the big book is what, 85 years old. The traditions are 75 years old from being first published in the AA Grapevine in 47 and 48. That you and I, who have had no contact with our founders, get to have sober lives and walk out there like normal.
Yes.
Yes. Well, thanks to everyone who wrote. And if you're listening and have a thought you want to add, please write in to us.
Folks, be sure to listen next week as we have a history snippet with Miley T. with Grapevine articles on Tradition 10 from the years 1953, 1959, and 1977. And we'll include more listener feedback after this show, so keep listening. Hey, Penny, thank you so much for joining us. It has been an absolute joy just sitting here laughing with you and getting to know you.
Thanks, Penny.
Thank you so much for inviting me. This was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
My name is Snow. I am an alcoholic. My sobriety date is 3/7/1975. My home group is Sober Sisters in Boca Raton, Florida. And I subscribe my whole life to the Grapevine because that gives you sobriety in your pocket, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, wherever you are in the world. Amen.
The Grapevine and Lavinia apps are now available for both iOS and Android phones. To get yours, go to the App Store on your phone.
I'm at the very wit's end. Cuckoo.
Buy me a drink, won't you, old man?
But I thought you were going to go to AA and give up drinking.
Well, I got to the first stage. I quit buying.
It's really not that funny.
Thanks for joining us. The AA Grapevine Half-Hour Variety Hour is posted every Monday and is produced by AA Grapevine, Inc. We don't speak for AA as a whole. We share the experience, strength, and hope of members to help others recover from alcoholism. All things Grapevine are available at aagrapevine.org, including our app and how to get in touch with us. Find us on Instagram and YouTube. If you want to know more about AA, visit aa.org or search online for Alcoholics Anonymous and your city.
Dear Sam, Don, and Alice, I happened to find the Grapevine podcast about a year ago. With an hour commute each way to work, I listened to at least 2 episodes every day until I was all caught up. And also listened to the former Boiled Owl podcast. I'm not sure what podcast or episode it was, but Don and Sam were talking about pet peeves. I received an email response from the credit union a day ago. And at the end of the message was the phrase, "Have a nice rest of your day." I just about spit my coffee out laughing at myself, hearing the conversation from the podcast in my head. Thank you for your service. I don't know about if it says that. My pet peeve is the service, but he says, "I love you guys. Always grateful. Nathan B., Cass City, Michigan."
Nathan, we're so happy that our pet peeves can make you laugh. Thanks for listening.
And have a nice rest of your day.
Oh my gosh. Paz P. writes about the Season 8 episode, The Secret Sauce. Dear podcast team, Sharon mentioned an online big book study group. Any chance you could share more details about the meeting?
Alice replies, Sharon mentioned the Bronx Big Book Study, which hosts 18 meetings a week, 17 online and 1 in person on Wednesday nights in the Bronx. The anchor meeting is the nightly line-by-line study of the Big Book, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Zoom ID, 350-656-459. Password, recovered, all lowercase.
Paz, thanks for writing in. Next, we have an email from Mick G. in Sarasota, Florida, that's referring to the live show from the International Convention, Season 9, Episode 4. Hey, SOD.
Wait a minute, that's Sam, Alice, and Don. The Sod.
The Sodcast. I just listened to the live podcast for the Vancouver Convention, and it was awesome. All caps and exclamation point. I could hear the joy in the voices of all that shared. I had an experience like Bob that I'd like to share.
Bob was a guest on the episode. He's the General Service Office Manager.
While in a crazy long line for the Friday big meeting, I saw 2 littermates that I knew from Houston, Texas. David, Lee, and I share April 1989 as our sober month. We had big hugs, fast talking, and kept the line moving. Wow, I had just been thinking, I wonder if I'll meet anyone else I know other than my sponsor from St. Thomas. I met them after the flag ceremony. His wife, Lisa, carried the St. Thomas flag. It is such a gift to be sober in this day and age, in spite of the madness of the world. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thanks, Mick.
That's great. Thank you.
Wonderful letters. Thanks to everyone who wrote in.
We really appreciate it, y'all.